to some stocks that might have good buying opportunities here in some of the sectors. If we start with semis, you know, Intel was down on Friday, but it just raised its dividend. I mean, when would this kind of stock, with the dividend, it's kind of a big cap name, it's not super sexy, be a good sort of bottom pick?
Well, we talked about Intel after earnings.
Right.
After the gap up to 3-day consolidation, that was your buy area. Now it's just been an unbelievable move. It's a good thing to watch right now. I think Intel is one of those things, if you have some, you know, I would take some off considering here is your entry, you know, 2150. Here is another entry as it cleared resistance, and now it's getting very choppy up here. So I would say if Intel breaks below this little, 23 area, I'd rather see you buy Intel closer to 2250, right around that 21-day, and that'll also bring down that group, and then we'll check the strength of the temperature there to see if it's still leading.
What about NVIDIA? NVIDIA down, you know, almost over 10% on Friday. It had a solid quarter, but its guidance really disappointed the street, and a lot of analysts wind up thinking that its big premium to its others in the sector has been priced in at this point. What would you do with this stock?
Looking at it right here, I would avoid and short. Look how far it is off the highs. A little bit of a churning move up under the moving averages. This thing could see 1650 pretty quick.
All right, let's go to retail then. We're going to go to Abercrombie & Fitch reporting earnings on Wednesday, up almost 28% year to date. Is there a pre-earnings trade, keeping in mind that retail in general has run so much?
I would take some profits there. We've outlined ANF so many times. It's a little bit extended. I don't think it's going to be the only thing that could hold up in the midst of some of this correction. I would take some off and head of those earnings on ANF.
Would the same thing be for Lulu and Ralph Lauren that actually, I said it your way this time, that actually have run just as much, if not more, than Abercrombie?
Well, Lulu's been great. It's been a momentum name, and I'm seeing some technical damage in Lulu. I would not want you to be long Lulu right now. Lulu has shown signs that, here is, the breaking of the upper range, snap back, lower high. It's holding the 21-day, though, but I would say just avoid this thing. It could easily see the 50-day at 88.96.89.
And real quick, Aeropostale AEO got an upgrade today. It's up slightly. What do you do when you get this kind of good news in this sector?
Well, I haven't watched that, so I have to put the chart up and see exactly where it is. You have to look at this. This is gross. I would still avoid this. I would short this thing at 1550 into this upgrade.
I love that. Gross. I think we're giving it like it is. Okay, let's go to healthcare. We got to divvy it up into two. We have, look at Cardinal Health and WellPoint. I mean, WellPoint's one of the best performing stocks of the whole year. So what do you do with like a WellPoint right now?
Again, like anything, I don't think you need to be full tier 3 in any of these things. If it's performed that well, take a little bit off.
You don't have to short WellPoint right here.
No, until it shows you a sign. But look, this is somewhat of a topping tail here. If you look, this was your breakout, this was your add-on. This is extended. I actually might look at this. Thanks for bringing it to my attention. That if it breaks below 80, I might short this just for a move back down to this, 77 area. And then we talk about these strong stocks, strong groups. No reason why it can't test a 21-day. This up here is not a buy after a huge move in WellPoint.
All right. What about AMGN?
AMGN we've talked about. It had a real sneaky move. Like AMGN, I missed this whole thing. We talked about when it was looking better right around this 56, and now went as high as 61. This is in the game. Bubble the moving averages, but again, it's a little extended. I think around 58, if it pulls into that area, that's more of a buy. I wouldn't chase AMGN up here either.
What about Biogen? It's BIIB. Is there any sort of signs of weakness there and how to trade it?
This had a good move too. This, I missed this whole end of this rally, and I hope some of you guys caught it because we tried to talk about it a few times. This, actually, this should be on the radar. This had your huge gap up, right? Hasn't been able to fill it. Nice tight pattern. I say you could buy a little bit of this if it starts going above 99 and has room back to 105. But if this thing starts to break below 95.29, you might have to run for the hills there as well.
All right, we got to hit banks. Let's just avoid Goldman Sachs altogether. But for JP Morgan, that obviously doesn't have the same kind of headwinds that Goldman does, I mean, do any of these levels make good opportunities?
I just think this whole group is just kicked to the curb.
Yeah.
And at this point, it's hard to short.
But if something is so unloved,
right,
couldn't you make an argument for a contrarian investment?
It could at a time. But right now, you know what? I like to make those arguments. Oh, look at this. JP Morgan at the 200-day. That actually looks to me as if it could be good for a try here. I'll look for a little red dog reversal where if it trades back above this 43 area, maybe you do get a little bit of a snapback. But this stock has so much work to do. It's so broken. This whole group, every pattern here is just met with selling. So I would continue to avoid until we see something drastic. And I don't think we're going to see something drastic based on housing prices still under pressure, the whole foreclosure mess, all the regulations. I just don't see it getting any brighter right now for these banks. So continue to keep them on the sidelines.
Let's go to transports. If we look at CSX and NSC, they've had good runs for the year. Could it be they've run too much right now? They're totally broken down. You got to go.
I think you got to go. I'm not even going to put those charts up. I showed you the IYT starting to break the 21-day. Those two stops also, if they break their 21 days, sell some.
And you said to nibble with some of the drillers if you were that interested. The two that are on my radar are Schlumberger and Halliburton. Would those be the two that you would think about?
Yeah, because you know what, they're the leaders in that group, and during corrections, what you at least you want to do is buy the leaders. I still think the market has more downside, so they will. If you take a quick look at one of them, I'll show you Halliburton here. You know, it's not. Oh, whoa, look at that. It's not even. It hasn't even broken the 21-day. You know, it's just rolling over here. I think it's a little premature to start buying it. So I would just watch this 45. If this breaks 45, you're going to see at least a move down to 42 and maybe down even to 40. I'd rather see you buy in this area versus right here.
All right, let's wrap it up.